The air was thick with the sound of ripping fabric and the low, brutal laughter of men who believed they were untouchable. Behind the gas station, under the merciless glare of the sun, Officer Mara Collins was trapped. Her back was pressed against the concrete wall, her pulse hammering in her throat as two men systematically tore her uniform and her dignity apart. Fear was a raw, cold thing in her lungs. Mara had faced danger before, stood over scenes of violence, but this was different. This was helplessness, exposed and under the open sky. Her training screamed at her, her father's warnings echoing. Never let them see fear. But fear had already won. Her desperate, silent call for help was mocked by the sound of traffic passing just beyond the corner, life carrying on while she was in a private hell. If this story of unlikely courage touches you, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to HOA Chronicles. Goodness, we find, can arrive from the most unexpected places. Mara's shift had begun with a quiet, routine call, a suspicious vehicle near the edge of town. The gas station, a place of faded red trim and sun-baked asphalt, was where she pulled in to confirm the report. It was a setup, a trap sprung by five men, led by Vince Harrow, who had been stalking her patrols for weeks. This wasn't about her badge. It was about revenge for an arrest she'd made months ago, putting one of their own behind bars. Vince, a man with eyes like broken glass, grabbed her first. He sneered, treating her uniform like a joke. He and his crew had her cornered, deliberately away from the cameras and the highway's view. A former mechanic turned bitter convict, Vince wanted the world to feel the same powerlessness he'd felt locked away. Now, pinning Mara against the wall, his laugh was the sound of a man regaining control. The thought of her 5-year-old daughter, Ellie, drawing pictures of Mommy the hero at her grandmother's house nearly broke her. Tears, not from her training, but from raw pain and dust, stung her eyes. One thug filmed it, his phone shaking with vile excitement, while the others stared, their faces vacant with cruelty. In broad daylight, the world had never felt so dark. Her badge caught the sun, a last, dim glimmer of belief, the roar of salvation. Then came the sound. At first, a low rumble, distant, like rolling thunder on a dry plain. The laughter died. The men squinted toward the highway. The sound swelled, heavy, rhythmic engines roaring, shaking the air before the ear could place it. And then they materialized. 6 men, walking in measured formation from the edge of the lot. Their boots hit the asphalt with a quiet certainty. Their vests bore the unmistakable patches that made people either step aside or whisper, "The Hell's Angels." They weren't riding. Their gleaming bikes stood parked just behind them. Leading them was Reed Calloway, a man who looked carved from experience, with a thick salt and pepper beard, slicked back hair, and eyes that held the weight of too many roads. Every movement was controlled. Vince's nervous laugh cracked as he called out, "You boys lost?" The angels didn't answer. They didn't need to. The atmosphere shifted as they approached, their leather vests catching the sun, revealing a lifetime of stories. Reed stopped 15 feet away, his gaze moving from Mara's terrified face to the men surrounding her. There was no theatrical violence, just a silence that cut deeper than any shout. Hope, fragile and overwhelming, flared in Mara. Reed wasn't here by accident. Minutes earlier, from the highway, he'd spotted the small flash of blue being cornered. It brought back a memory. His own daughter, years ago, crying for help when he wasn't there. He'd been chasing a fight that didn't matter, and by the time he returned, she was gone from his life. He wouldn't walk past another daughter of someone's heart. Not again. Vince muttered, "Let's go," his confidence gone. But one of the angels, a massive bald man with a heavy beard, stepped forward, his shadow falling long. "She's not going anywhere with you," he stated, his voice a low, gravelly certainty. Everything froze. The trembling officer, the thug's uncertainty, the immovable outlaws. In a flare of final, pathetic rage, Vince swung his arm. Reed caught the wrist instantly, his tattooed hand closing like a vice. The younger man's face twisted in shock. No words were exchanged, just a shove, not for harm, but to end it. Ben stumbled, falling hard. The others backed away, defeated not by weapons, but by conviction. The game was over. Mara fell to her knees, trembling as the adrenaline drained. Reed crouched down, his voice low and rough, instructing her to breathe. She looked up, her eyes flooded with tears of a profound, unexpected relief. When she thought she was invisible, he saw her. He gently handed her the torn remnants of her uniform. Behind them, the rest of the angels stood guard, a quiet, protective wall. Reed looked at her badge, then simply nodded. He didn't wait for thanks. Perhaps this was a small act of redemption, a silent apology to the daughter he'd lost. Mara rose, meeting his gaze. One officer, one outlaw, two people changed by laws. The angels turned back toward their motorcycles. Engines roared to life, a powerful, protective thunder now. Their silhouettes cut across the horizon, fading onto the open road. Mara stood for a long time, holding her ripped uniform. She didn't know their names, but she knew one thing. The line between sinner and savior was thinner than she'd ever imagined. Sometimes, the people you're taught to fear are the ones who show up when no one else does. If this story resonated with you, show your support for HOA Chronicles by liking, commenting, and sharing. Your engagement helps us continue to shed light in dark places. Tell us in the comments, what does redemption mean to you? As Mara watched the bikes disappear, she finally understood something the Academy never taught her. Kindness doesn't always wear a uniform, and salvation doesn't always come with sirens. Sometimes, it roars in on two wheels, wearing black leather, carrying the ghosts of the past towards something better. And under the bright sky, for the first time in a long while, she finally felt safe.